Hey, what's going on, guys? Mr. Mac here for another quick review. Today we're going to take a look at multi-step equations. So last video, if you watched it, we covered two-step equations. Now we're going to take a look at multi-step. So multi obviously has probably more than two steps, but basically it's a two-step equation but has some cleanup steps to do first. So it's really a two-step equation, but before we get to the two-step equation, we have to look and see if there are some cleanup steps to do first. And those cleanup steps is kind of what makes it a multi-step equation, okay? So, cleanup steps. So what are we talking about, Mr. Mac? Well, there are a few things that you want to look for before you start solving an equation. The cleanup steps. And the first is to check, does my equation have any parentheses that I need to get rid of? And if it does, then get rid of them, usually by distribution. The second thing we look for, once we get rid of parentheses, or if it doesn't have parentheses, then we check and see, can I combine like terms? Are there like terms on one side of the equal sign or the other that I can combine or put together? That's the second cleanup step that we look for. And then the third cleanup step that we look for are my variables, and I'll put X as a variable. Could be any letter, could be A, B, C, Q, whatever. Are my variables on one side of the equal sign? Those are the three steps, cleanup steps, that I need to check for before I solve my equation. Okay? Are there parentheses I have to get rid of? Can I combine like terms? Are all my variables on one side? If all three of those check you're done with, you've checked and made sure they're taken care of, then you're typically left with a two-step equation that we already know how to solve. We did that on the last video. So let's take a look at an example. Let me go ahead and fix the screens here, and I'll show you an example. All right. So here is an example, and you guys might look at this and be like, oh man, that's way too hard for me to do. No, it's not, because guys, these cleanup steps, we already know how to do them, and they're very simple. There may just be two or three of them in one problem, but that's okay. As long as we take it step by step, we'll be fine. So here's a long equation. I know it's an equation because there's an equal sign, right? My goal is still the same as it was in one and two step equations. I need to get X by itself on one side of the equal sign. So obviously I got some cleaning up to do first before I can do that. So first, what do we check for first? Parentheses. Are there parentheses here? Yes, right there. So let's get rid of them. And how do you get rid of parentheses? Well, in this case, distribution. I'm going to multiply this 4 times this first term, and then 4 times this next term in the parentheses. So 4 times X is 4X, 4 times 2 is 8, and then everything else I just bring down. Minus 6 equals 2X plus 14. So, first cleanup step, done. I got rid of parentheses. Next, what do I look for? Can I combine like terms anywhere in the equation? Well, here on the right side of the equal sign, it looks like I can't because there's just one group of X's and one group of regular numbers. So there's nothing really to combine there. Over here, though, I can, because it looks like I've got two groups of numbers. I got a positive 8 and I got a negative 6. So I can combine those into one group. So let's do that. 8 minus 6 is 2, positive 2. And again, everything else we're just going to bring down. 4X equals 2X plus 14. So, cleanup step number 2, combining like terms, done. Last thing we look for, are my variables on one side of the equal sign? Well, here they're not. I've got X's over here, and I've got X's over here. So, we need to pick a side and get rid of X's on one side. I usually like to have my X's or variables on the left, but it doesn't really matter. No matter which side you pick, the answer is still going to come out the same. Trust me on that. But for our purposes here, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these two X's on the right side. So, how do you get rid of two X's? You subtract them. 2x's minus 2x's cancels out. and they're gone. But the golden rule applies. If I subtracted 2x's on the right side of the equal sign, I got to subtract 2x's on the left. So subtract 2x's over here. 4x minus 2x is 2x, and then we just bring everything else down. Plus 2 equals 14. Cleanup step number 3 done. So I had all 3 cleanup steps in this one problem. I had parentheses, I got rid of. I had to combine like terms, which I did, and then I got all my variables on one side. Now look what I'm left with. A 2-step equation. Well, we're home free here because we already know how to do 2-step equations because we watched the last video, right? So what do? We want x by itself. Get rid of the add subtract part first. Minus 2 cancels. Minus 2 here. That's, oops, not 7. That's 12 equals 2x. I bring that down. Get rid of the times 2 part by dividing by 2 on both sides, and I end up with x equals 6. Easy. So guys, this is an example of how to combine or how to solve a multi-step equation. It doesn't matter where in the equation the parentheses are. In this equation, they were here on the left. If they were here on the right, then fine, get rid of them there. All right? Okay, let's try one more example. Let's go with 5x plus 2 equals 3x plus 4. All right, well, let's see what we can do here. What's the first thing we look for, guys? Parentheses. Do I have parentheses? Yeah. Not only do I have parentheses, I got them twice. Okay, no big deal. Let's get rid of both of them. So we'll start here on the right. 5 times x is 5x. Whoops. 5x. 5 times 2 is 10. Equals, and let's do the same thing over here on the right. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 4 is positive 12. All right. So I got rid of my parentheses, and I'm left with this. What do we check for next? Combining like terms. Can I combine like terms here? Well, on the right, I only have one group of x's and one group of numbers, so I can't really do it there. And on the left, same thing, just x's and one group of numbers. So I can't combine like terms, so there's no, we don't have to do that step. How about variables on one side, the third cleanup step that I look for? Yeah, I do have to do that. I've got 3 x's here on the right. I got 5 x's here on the left. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the smaller number of x's here, the 3x, by subtracting 3x. Now again, it doesn't matter which you pick. I could have just as easily subtracted 5x from here on both sides, and I would have gotten the same answer. So you don't have to worry about, oh, what if I pick the wrong one? It's going to come out the same. 3x minus 3x, that cancels. Follow the golden rule and subtract 3x over here. 5x minus 3x is 2x, and bring the rest down. Plus 10 equals 12. Did all my cleanup steps, and now look, I'm left with a 2-step equation, which is easy. What do? We get rid of the add subtract part first, the plus 10. We subtract 10. Cancels, subtract 10 over here. 12 minus 10 is 2, and I bring down my 2x. 2x equals 2, so get rid of the times 2 part by dividing by 2 on both sides, and I'm left with x equals 1. So there was an example of, we just had 2 cleanup steps to do. Get rid of parentheses, move variables to one side. But no matter how many cleanup steps you guys have to do, ultimately you'll end up getting to a 2-step equation. And once you get to a 2-step equation, it's pretty simple to solve from there. So again, as a quick recap, multi-step equations are typically 2-step equations that have some cleanup steps above them that we have to do first in order to get to that 2-step equation. So guys, I hope this helps you guys, kind of clears it up a little bit for you that may have been confused. Keep practicing these problems, and we'll see you next time for another quick review.